Snow drifted quietly over the Ardennes forest, covering every branch and stone in a blanket of white. It should have been peaceful, but World War II had silenced peace long ago. In the middle of this frozen battleground walked a man who never quite fit the mold of a typical American soldier. Corporal Leon Hartman, a 29-year-old from the Appalachian backwoods, carried something that made people stare, laugh, or shake their heads. While every man around him held rifles and submachine guns, Leon carried a 6-foot English longbow and a quiver of ashwood arrows. To most soldiers, the bow looked like a joke, a medieval relic in a modern war. They teased him constantly. "Hey Robin Hood, gonna take down Hitler with a twig?" one would yell. Another would nudge him and laugh. "Try not to poke your eye out, buddy." Leon never argued. He simply trained at night, drawing the bow with quiet discipline, his eyes sharp, his movements controlled. Only one man took him seriously, Sergeant Vincent Cole, a tough, level-headed veteran who believed every weapon had a purpose if the man behind it knew how to use it. Leon grew up hunting in dense forests where silence meant survival. His grandfather had taught him to stalk deer by feeling the wind, stepping on soft earth, and breathing as one with the trees. By his late teens, he could hit a moving elk at 70 yards. In the army, the bow was his comfort, his connection to home. No one expected it to become the weapon that saved his entire squad. In December 1944, during the opening days of the Battle of the Bulge, chaos erupted across the Allied lines as German forces launched a brutal surprise offensive. Leon's squad received orders to infiltrate the forest, locate a hidden German communication post, gather intelligence, and return alive. But the deeper they pushed through the Ardennes, the thicker the silence grew, a dangerous, alert silence. By late afternoon, they spotted the outpost, a reinforced cabin guarded by 7 seasoned German sergeants. Cole assessed the situation grimly. A direct attack meant suicide. They needed a silent approach. The men glanced at each other before all eyes slowly turned to Leon. The jokes faded. Their mission suddenly depended on the bow they had mocked. Leon didn't speak. He stepped into the snow, unwrapped the longbow, and surveyed the guard at the door. The sergeant had stepped outside to smoke, his breath drifting like fog. Leon knelt behind a fallen log, drew the bowstring back with slow, steady strength, and released. The arrow whispered through the night air and struck the man in the throat. He dropped without a sound. The squad watched in stunned disbelief as Leon knocked another arrow without emotion. Next, a guard stood on a small wooden watch platform, scanning the forest. Snowflakes floated gently between them, blocking Leon's view, until the guard shifted his stance. Leon stepped sideways once, twice, until the branches parted just enough. He released the arrow. The thud of impact echoed faintly as the guard toppled into the snow below. 2 kills, both silent, both perfect. Minutes later, 2 German sergeants emerged from the cabin on patrol. They walked close, talking casually. Leon whispered to Cole that shooting 2 men quickly was risky, but Cole asked quietly, "Can you do it?" Leon drew 2 arrows at once, one between each finger. The soldiers approached. Leon inhaled slowly, and fired the first arrow. It pierced the lead sergeant's eye before he even knew something was wrong. Leon's second arrow flew instantly, slamming into the second man's chest. Both soldiers collapsed within seconds. Behind Leon, Private Myers whispered, "He's not Robin Hood, he's a damn ghost." 4 bodies lay in the snow now. The remaining Germans inside grew suspicious, calling out the names of their missing comrades. A flare burst into the sky, flooding the clearing with harsh white light. Leon crouched lower as the Germans shouted and approached the entrance. One bent down to inspect a body, a fatal mistake. Leon released another arrow, striking the top of his spine. The man collapsed before he could scream. The final 2 Germans panicked, spraying bullets blindly into the forest. Tree bark exploded near Leon and the squad, forcing them into cover. Cole wanted at least 1 prisoner alive. Leon waited, heart steady, breath slow. When one of the sergeants leaned toward a window to fire, Leon shot an arrow through the frame, pinning the man's wrist to the wood. He screamed, dropping his weapon. The last German fled toward the back door, firing wildly. Leon stalked him through the trees, just like tracking a wounded deer. He drew his final arrow and shot the man in the leg, dropping him without killing him. The squad rushed in, capturing both survivors. Inside the cabin, the wounded German stared at Leon with terror. "Americans have silent death in the woods," he whispered. The captured men confessed crucial information. A large German battalion was preparing a morning advance. Without Leon's silent kills, the German sergeants would have sent warnings, and hundreds of Allied soldiers would have been overrun in their sleep. As the squad retreated before dawn, German artillery suddenly blasted the forest, shaking the ground as shells slammed into the outposts they had just left. The team fought through falling trees and exploding snowbanks. During the chaos, a lone German sergeant from a distant patrol spotted them and raised his MP-40, aiming directly at Sergeant Cole. Leon reacted in an instant. With no arrows left in his quiver, he reached into the snow and found the one arrow he had fired and retrieved earlier. He sprinted forward, slid onto one knee, drew the bow with everything he had, and released. The arrow soared through the icy morning air and struck the German in the heart. He fell before pulling the trigger. Leon lowered the bow, panting hard. Cole stared at him, stunned, realizing that Leon had just saved his life. When the squad finally reached Allied lines, exhausted and frostbitten, word of Leon's actions spread quickly. Officers inspected the longbow with disbelief. "This is the weapon that took down 7 German sergeants?" one asked. Cole nodded proudly and said, "Yes, sir. 3 days. All silent kills." Soldiers who once mocked Leon now watched him with respect, some even awe. They stopped calling him Robin Hood. Instead, they called him the Longbow Ghost of the Ardennes. German soldiers who later found the bodies whispered stories of a Waldgeist, a forest spirit who hunted silently with ancient arrows. Leon didn't consider himself a legend. He hated attention and rarely spoke of what he had done. After the war, he returned to the Appalachians but never hunted animals again. He hung the same bow above his cabin door, not as a trophy, but as a reminder of a time when ancient skill changed the course of a modern battle. He told few stories. But every so often, someone would ask him why he carried a bow into war when guns ruled the battlefield. Leon would smile faintly and answer, "Guns are loud. Bows are honest." And so the legend lived on. The tale of the American soldier who carried a medieval bow into World War II, and proved that in the hands of a patient, disciplined warrior, even an ancient weapon could alter history. Because in war, the weapon matters less than the heart of the man who wields it.